divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a blessing is, what a peace of mind, leaning on the everlasting arms.
Welcome to On the Move with Thomasene. And I have a very special guest today, a very special guest. But before we start, I would like to open it with prayer. Our Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day, a day I've never seen before. And I'm so glad to be here today with my brother. I said I wasn't going to say this until the end, but I'm so proud to be here today with my only brother. And his name is Mr. James Counts. And I thank you, Lord, for this day and be able to be with him in his home, showing his works, because God has been so wonderful to us. Now I just would like to say this. A good laugh is sunshine in a house. The Lord has done great things for us, wherefore we are glad. That's Psalms 126:3 from the King James Version. Now, getting back to my brother, Mr. James Counts. He's a well-known sculptor. What is it, Sonny?
A sculpture is the end result of your work. The third dimensional piece is the sculpture. If you're a male or an artist doing sculpture, you'll call a sculptor, Stor. If you're a female doing sculpture, then it becomes a sculptress, which is the female gender. But the work itself is sculpture. And that's what you see here, and amid all of this mess that's here.
Well, I'm telling you, this is really just wonderful. And, you know, I can see where when you have someone very famous in your family, it doesn't faze you as much. But now I'm among it, and I see all these things, and I see what you're doing, and I just want to let you know I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud. But, you know, I call him Sonny. That's me, not you. But his name is James Counts. But so tell me, I remember when you painted, you did watch repair work, you did everything. But when did you really decide to do this type of work?
Well, that's not a long story, but it's something that came sequentially, one event after another. I was going to Harron High School in Manhattan, and I missed my stop. I used to have to get off at 59th Street and 8th Avenue, and I ended up on 125th Street. And I was in high school. I started bright. I said, what the heck, I'll take this day. First and only day I played hooky. And I went up, and as I went into Harlem, because we were raised in Brooklyn, so Harlem was a long way away, and I was awestruck by some of the things that I saw. I was ran into a bookstore, sidewalk, very famous bookstore in Harlem. And one of the first books I picked up showed that there had been black soldiers in the Civil War. And they had pictures of them, and they had won awards, and 60-some thousand had died, and all of that. And I'm saying, now, how is it that I'm in high school and I have not heard this? You know, and so that initiated my actual reading and starting to study things. And every page, every book that I pick up, I started reading all kinds of things about what blacks had done in this country. And the connection to the arts was something that I remember seeing my father do. My father would take me fishing and come back and then sketch out the shoals and the banks that we had been on in pen and ink. And sons usually imitate their fathers. And so that was part of the artistic element coming into it. So then when I combine that with discovering, which I say black folks have to discover that they have a history because it's simply not taught in the educational structure. Yeah. So once you discover this, it opens up a whole new avenue, a whole new venue, you know. And so I combine that discovery with what little artistic ability I had, and I started saying, well, if I didn't know these things, I'm sure that there are other blacks that don't know these things either. So I put it in 3 dimension because 3 dimension is a very real arena. It's not like doing a painting, which is flat, and you have to, think about you have new shading to get to the behind the piece. But in 3 dimension, it's what we see. Our eyes see 3 dimensionally. So when you do a piece in sculpture, it's much more, to me at least, is much more real. And that's why I started putting all of these individuals into that 3 dimensional form. And I've been doing that since 1963.
But now, what? I'm your sister, and yet and still, I didn't see this. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't see that you were doing. I saw the drawing. I think I still have the drawing. It was of the dog.
Of the
remember?
dog,
Of
right?
the dog.
Of the setters, iris setters or something.
Iris setter.
Right, right.
And that was good. And Daddy used to do artwork, and his writing was gorgeous, remember? And
Well, these are little things. As you're growing up, you're influenced by a lot of different things, and different things affect different children. You focus on one thing, and another one focuses on. In the same family now, all 3 or 4 individuals can focus on different arenas, and so ultimately, I put my focus on the arts, and to tell the story of Black history in 3 dimensions. And I've been doing that since '63. The March on Washington really triggered it. I couldn't make the march, but I was so inspired by the visions on the television and so on that I did my very first piece, which was George Washington Carver. And that just that started the whole ball rolling. And now, even today, I have just scratched the surface. There is so much Black history out there yet to be told in perspective that I've just scratched the surface. But it's been very rewarding and viable and realistic, and you see by the awards and so on, and recognized by a lot of people. And so it's like doing the right thing.
it's a gift.
It's a gift.
That's
It's
a
gift.
that's
That's
really it's
Gift
really a
from
gift.
Okay.
Now I used to watch you draw, and I tried drawing a while, but never touched this. This was
Again, it's a
well.
it's a matter
You're
of
showing us there's so much to see. What are you showing me now?
This is a piece that it's pretty dry now, but it was a air dried clay or water based clay, and this is when I'm doing the work and the detail of a piece. This is what it looks like. From this stage, once you get exactly what you're trying to say, then a mold of this has to be made. And it has to be supported by what they call a mother mold.
This is not a mold.
No, this is not a mold. This is the original piece. And if I wanted to reproduce this in a medium that's going to be permanent, then I have to take a negative image of this and manipulate it and come out with a positive image, which is something that will be the final finished piece. And that's the procedure that goes on with all of these
With
pieces.
every piece.
This is what they call clay modeling. I'm modeling the clay, I'm taking a negative image, put the mold back together, do the casting, and I come back with a positive image of the same piece.
This is interesting.
Right. That's the procedure. I mean, if anybody that's studying sculpture in school, they usually go through the clay modeling stage, and then they go. This can also go to a foundry, and be cast in pure bronze.
But you're your own foundry here.
But I'm not my
And
own foundry.
what
That's
do we
why
have here?
you see so
This is
much
a head,
mess here,
just
so
like
many
the other one.
materials, just like the other one is. And anything from above the waistline can be considered a bust. And in these particular pieces here, it's just the head, and a few others here are just the head itself. But anything from the waist up is considered a
A
bust.
bust.
Now this is the second stage. Once the mold has been made, and I'm casting using resin and pulverized bronze.
Resin?
Resin. And,
What is resin?
resin is a material that's used to repair cars, but it's a medium that's many artists have a substitute type medium to become the filler for this kind of a piece. The surface, as you can see, is bronze colored already. That's from the pulverized
this is
bronze.
beautiful.
And this is the age of the braid.
Oh my gosh.
And this is the age of the
How
braid
did you
that I
do
did.
the braids?
While it's in the clay form, you just roll it out. And I was in the U.S. Navy, and you learn how to do those braiding.
You know how to braid like
I
that?
know how to braid like that, and I braided the clay. I rolled three three rolls of clay out, braid it together, and place it in the position that I would want it. And that's
And
the
what is
ultimate.
her name?
This I call Beauty in the Braid. That's
Now,
the
did
original.
you have a did you have a model for her?
No model, no model. It was when the braids were first. This piece is about 20 years old, when the braids started really coming out. And what happened with my connection to Black history is that blacks are usually the pioneers of new things.
Right.
And when the black female came out with this braid, it has now become a thing where basketball players have them,
Yes.
football players have them, but it was the black female that initiated this look in the
The braids.
40s, the braid.
So this is Beauty and the Braid?
This particular piece is Beauty in the Braid. And this, like I said, I just dug this mold out a couple of days ago and cast it, and I got a lot of work to do on it. But the basis of the piece is
She's
there.
beautiful.
Right, all that. So when I do that, and I also make my own bases, so once I finish this and get the bronze, and, what the pulverized bronze does is make it look like bronze, like a bronze statue. See the highlight?
That's not bronze.
The surface is bronze,
Yeah.
and then the filler can be anything. Those fillers up there are just pure cement. You can use plaster of Paris and become the filler, but the surface will give you the impression that this is a bronze piece because of the bronze. And I'm using steel wool to highlight. See the shine coming in?
Yes.
Okay. But this is what they call a poor man's bronze, because in a statue cast in real bronze would through a foundry and so on and so forth, something to be outside in a park, is a very costly thing.
Right.
And my idea was to deal with the people that could not be the millionaire collectors. And my message was in sculpture. And I didn't know how it was going to work out, so I found a couple of mediums. I studied
But
and
look at this
researched.
already, what you've done
Right.
now.
Just right now.
This
So
is
when
awesome.
when this is sitting on a mantelpiece,
Oh my
know,
God.
looks like a bronze piece of work. And it's just it like those pieces there
Right.
that were done in '63. The same type of finish, and they're still there. And pieces that I've sold over the years, they're still there, making the same statement that I intended for it to make. And that's what it is. That's what art is. That's what sculpture is.
This is just awesome, I'll tell you that. But let me see those braids again. And I can't believe that you've done this.
Well, this is clay. Like I say, clay is a medium that you can. It's a water-based clay, and you just roll out 3 strands, and just like Mama used to braid the hair,
Yeah.
braid your hair and sister's
Yeah.
hair, the same thing. It's the braids are made, you roll them out, and then you position them. While that clay is soft, you can position them any kind of way that you want. And then this is the ultimate piece, the highlight piece.
Now, this was your own imagination with those braids.
But it was a reflection of the statement that the black female was making. And that's what I'm about. Our history books are full of things that black people initiated, but never were given the credit for. And so I want to make that statement when I do whatever I'm doing. To put it in a 3-dimensional area that makes it more real.
Now, you
No.
just took this out from when?
I took this out yesterday out of the mold. I dug up my old mold and cast this piece.
And before, how long had you had it?
This piece is at least 20 years. At least 20 years.
She is
Right.
gorgeous.
And that's what a mold does. A mold you can do recasting over time, And fortunately the mold was in perfect shape. And I haven't even looked at it in God knows when. But that's the uniqueness of art. You do something, you can make something out of a jar. My artists are crazy anyway. So we just create
What you
things.
say? Artists
Oh, we're
crazy?
crazy. we are looking at things differently,
Yes.
and therefore we are some of the most fortunate people on this planet, because we don't get bogged down in some of the terrible things that are happening today in society, because we have this picture in our head. We got to do that picture, and that's what it's really about.
Now, the one you just showed us, that was the clay.
That was the clay.
Now, this is step number 2.
This is step number 2, and then you can see it has to be a little modified, a little cleaned up and everything. And then I'll make a base. I'll stick a bolt in there so it'll be mounted on a base, and it becomes a piece of sculpture. Then
Now,
it's the piece of sculpture.
This is the original.
This is the second casting of this particular piece, because I did cast it years ago, and I took it to an art exhibit, and somebody bought it right away. So that was a long time ago.
It had to be 20 years ago.
I did another one since then, and that's went in an art exhibit a few years back, and that's the nature of it. That's the nature of it. It's the nature of creating. All right, this particular piece I call Sassy. And Sassy reminded me of the few times that I went to Harlem, and it was a time when the Black Renaissance was going about, and there were remnants of that, and the ladies used to walk down the street with their pinafores or little small umbrellas in their finery, and it was something that what triggered in my mind at least was a sassy personality. And so I made this face that looks straight out at you, that has an attitude in the motion here, and say, boom, that's sassy. Right. That was my object of that. And most of my work, I try to make a statement. And if people don't understand what I'm saying, then I'll break it down and try to show it to them. So I did that a few years ago.
Anything? That's a pompadour.
Now, I don't know what they call
That was
them.
like a pompadour.
Like a pompadour, but this is still a fashionable thing where the hair
Yes.
just simply goes back, And the beauty of the hair going back is that the beauty of the face jumps out. When you have these froze and all of this confusion around in the hair, then you lose track. The focus of people's attention goes to the hair rather than to the face. And what I like to do is bring out the beauty of the black female. Good.
Now, would you tell me this young man's name and
This young man's name is John Henry. And we've heard the song, John Henry was a steel driving man, and I just did an imitation of him. The only thing I haven't done it here yet is to put the sledgehammer. The sledgehammer comes from here down to the base. But that was a composition that I thought of, and I use that when I go talk to schools or to kids in school.
there's so much
This-
strength there?
This particular piece, I worked in the post office a number of years, and I had a gentleman that we called Toro, and he was Hispanic, good buddy of mine. And when he retired, the group got together and they told me to do something for El Toro. And so this is why I did this. One of the few animal pieces that I've done. And that's
Yeah, because I know we
copy
should
of
do
that.
more.
individuals.
Yes,
My focus is black history.
Right.
Individuals in black history. So that's for this particular moment here. Okay, as you walk around this workshop area, you will see a number of awards and certificates and the recognition and appreciation and so on that I've acquired over the years. And I'm very proud of them.
Pointing to some of them and tell.
Okay. This is from the National Council of Negro Women, a Trailblazer Award a couple of years ago, 2000. And these are mostly from different schools.
That seems very interesting right there. The shape. That's the shape of Africa, isn't it?
That's the shape of Africa, and it was done by a gentleman over in Jamaica, Queens. And I created the piece for him. And sure enough, it came back to me through the Roosevelt School District and was presented to me as an award.
Wonderful.
Right. This is
What year was that, though?
that was 1995, I believe.
Okay.
And this is also 95, and this is from the African American Heritage Association, which is based in Hempstead here. And these are certificates of appreciation and completion. And this I
That one's beautiful.
like quite a bit, because this is the one of the Harriet Tubman piece that I presented to the Harriet Tubman School in Newark, New Jersey. And I had to go over there and present the piece, and they had the unveiling, and it's still on view in their aisle or auditorium or whatever.
And that was 89.
And that was 1989. This was 1987. And it's all about sculpturing the spirit and images of African Americans, which is what I'm about. And so most of these are related to the same thing, and they usually come about on African American day or month, a week or whatever they particularly. But anytime that blacks are being recognized, I'm usually called upon to exhibit some work. I'm also called upon to speak to young kids and teachers and so on. And it's a very beautiful, beautiful result of what it's become over these years.
Well, you just said something. The message is the
The
thing.
message is the thing. How people, our favorite question of people is to ask you, well, how, Mr. Counts, how long did it take you to do that? And I'm saying time is not relevant. The thing is, when it talks back to you and you know you got your idea across, the vision that you had in your head, then it's complete.
Go with it, right?
Let's go with that.
Now, I notice this is Kwanzaa.
This is Kwanzaa. This is our latest celebrant holiday that we're using now, December 26th, January 1. And it's something that I put together with all the words and the meanings and so on.
Uh-huh.
And it becomes a thing that doesn't come out until December 26th. But there are a lot of Kwanzaa show performances on. Their dances and their tributes to the African culture and so on. And so then it becomes a very prominent fixture in that particular group. And so that's why I did the Kwanzaa. So again, anything that's relevant to Black history, I go with that. And that's how
Wonderful.
I created that.
Wonderful. And what is this? This is awesome, Sonny. What? Tell us about that, please.
All right. This is a piece that I call Mother's Seed. This piece on the bottom, the face here, is Mother Africa. The silhouette you can see is the continent of Africa. And these are the children. of
And
Mother.
what's his name right here?
George Washington Carver. There's W.E.B. Du Bois. There's Malcolm. There's Frederick. Mary McLeod Bethune. Here we have a stranger. These are more common faces: Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth. This one is Andrew Cartwright. Andrew Cartwright was one of the gentlemen after the slaves were freed and starting to move west.
Mm-hmm.
He organized one of the wagon trains that helped so many blacks migrate out west. So when you go out west, and I've been there a few times, and you see black folks in Dakota, or you see black folks in Colorado.
That's how they got there.
That's how they got there. Andrew Cartwright officially organized a wagon train where he took freed black slaves to go out west and put their claim into land just like everybody else was doing. And when you look at the book, when you study the history, then these things come out. And these are things that are not taught in American history. Had American history been taught sequentially as it happened, who it happened, how it happened, we would have no problem. We wouldn't have this need for this energy to put out and try to bring these faces to life. But that's been my goal for 30-some years, and I haven't even scratched the surface.
And so that means you have to keep on living.
I have to keep. I like that. That sounds good.
But this is just like hidden things that are trying to be hidden.
It's something that you have to be inclined to research for yourself.
Self.
Because it does not come in the ordinary pages of American history.
Right.
The only thing that we know as a people is the fact that we were slaves.
Period.
Period. We don't know the individuals. We don't know the sequence of events. We don't know about the revolution with Nat Turner and Gabriel Prosser. These kind of things. If you want to study that, you have to do your own research. And all of this material is right there in the library. It's right there. It's written somewhere. So I try to put it in this third dimension. This is a bas relief, what they call a bas relief. In fact, you're only seeing the faces. You're not seeing the back of the head and so on. But this is what you call a bas relief. This is currently on exhibit in the Roosevelt Public Library.
In Roosevelt.
Right here in Roosevelt.
Now this is clay also?
This was originally done in clay, and the same process where I had to make the mold, and I had to paint the mold with the bronze and do the casting and so on. It's the same technique. All of these pieces that we've seen today have been done in the same technique.
And this is Mother Africa.
This I call Mother Africa. Right? I put her chain and beads around the earrings and so on, and tried to give her an African look. But these are the sons and daughters of Africa. So that was my thought, and that's how I put it together.
Well, you know, God is just so good that He just gives you, whenever you need things, He brings it to you. And I thank everyone who have helped me. And look out for more, because there will be more. Thank you for visiting us. Thank you for letting me in your home. And I hope I can return again. God bless everybody. God bless.
What a fellowship, what a joy divine.